Hey guys, welcome to the first game in a campaign that I will be playing at my local games workshop. And this will be a 2,500 point game between my double Doombull list versus a Lizardman opponent. Now, I noticed that I didn't say Beastmen. Well, I guess technically it is a Beastman army, but the only reason I play the Beastman army is to play with two Doombulls. Yep, that's right, two Doombulls. Every single one of my games will have not one, but two Doombulls, which I am very, very excited about. So, a little bit of background about the campaign. So, we fight the Control Mighty Empire tiles. So, we've set up a board. I think we've got about a dozen players, maybe a bit more. And we each get our starting kingdom. So, you have a couple of choices. You actually have three choices for what your starting kingdom tile does. And I chose a city. So, for each game, you roll a d3, and based on that result, you either get a benefit or actually a detraction from your list. So on a 1 to a 2, I lose a command group at random. On a 3 to a 4, I gain a free command group, which is actually pretty nice considering Minotaur command costs 50 points. So I get free 50 points there if I get that, if I roll a 3 to 4. But the big thing, the reason why I picked the city as opposed to some of the other options, was on a 5 to a 6, you gain 50 times d6 points added to your list. So that's actually what I rolled for this game. And I rolled a 3 on the d6, so I got 150 free points, which was pretty nice. But also the focus of this campaign is more of a narrative. So a lot of the guys have been writing up their battle reports and talking about key moments. Now obviously I make battle reports, so I'll be using these battle reports as my narrative. And I'll be focusing on my three main characters. I actually have six characters in this army, but it's the three Minotaur characters that we'll be focusing on. So, like I said, the entire reason why I'm playing Beastmen is because of Doombulls. I love Doombulls. As you can tell, I have the old models. I've always been a fan of Minotaurs in general, and I think you can have some pretty interesting builds. So, the first character, who is also my general, is Jensenhide, who is, of course, a Doombull. Now, he has the 1-up rerollable armor save given to him by the Scaly Skin perk, as well as heavy armor shield, and the Ramhorn helm. And the Dawnstorm, of course. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Ramhorn helm allows me to make an attack for every successful armor save that I make. Now, obviously, with a 1-up rerollable armor save, I'm going to be making a lot of armor saves, which means this Doombull gets a ton of attacks. Now, this is a pretty popular internet build, and some of you guys might notice that I don't have the Always Strike sword, the Always Strikes first sword on this character, and it's simply because I didn't have the points. Because I am taking my second Doombull, and these two guys pretty much fill up my Lord allowance at 2,500 points. I can't even play these two guys at 2,400 points, so hopefully I'll be able to get a lot of 2,500 point games in. So the second Doombull is Arntusk. And this is my Ninja Doombull, so he's not really an internet build. I mean, he might be out there, but I kind of scratched him up with the points I had left. And I gave him Fencer's Blades and Glittering Scales, as well as Shadowhide. Now, Fencer's Blade gives him an extra attack, which is nice, but the big thing is he goes to Weapon Skill 10. So when he's fighting anything with Weapon Skill 4 or less, it's minus. He's only going to get hit on 5s. Now, if you combine that with the Glittering Scales, he's only going to get hit on 6s. So he's very, very difficult to hit. And if you do manage to hit him, he's still toughness 5, so that's pretty nice. And Shadowhide is another 5-point upgrade that makes him -1 to hit from shooting, which is also pretty good, considering it's only it's 5 points, and it seemed fluffy. Now, my third character that we'll be focusing on is Tomorask, and he is a Gorebull BSB. Yep, didn't have enough points for a third Doombull, so had to go to a Gorebull. And I kept him pretty simple. I wanted to give him a great weapon, but ran out of points, and I actually like the additional hand weapon, because it gives him an extra attack, and this guy can pull out a lot of hurt as well. He's slightly more vulnerable. He only has a 4+ ward save, but that's what happens when you only have 50 points to give to this guy in terms of magic items. So these are the three characters that we'll be following through this campaign, and we'll get to the first game now. So on to game 1. And we'll start with my opponent's deployment. He has, on the top left, 10 skirmishing skinks with blowpipes, then a Scarvet on a Carnosaur, and the Scarvet has the ability to become toughness 6, I believe. Then he has a block of 24 Saurus with hand weapon shield full command, a unit of 10 skink skirmishers. Behind them is a unit of 26 Temple Guard with a Slan Lore of Light. And they have the standard to discipline and as well as the Jaguar standard. So they have Frenzy. Then another block of 24 Saurus with full command and a Troglodyte next to them. And in the forest, deployed across from my lines, are 10 Chameleon Skinks. As for me, on the bottom right I have 5 Warhounds, then 5 Skirmishing Ungor Raiders, a big block of 35 Gors, and they don't have any upgrades with the exception of full command. I didn't give them hand weapons or shields because I don't think those are really necessary and I'd rather just get more bodies. Then I have a unit of 5 Minotaurs with Musician, and in there I've got my 3 characters. Next to the Minotaurs, I have a unit of 30 Bestigors, and they just have Musician and Standard. And then next to the Bestigors, I have a unit of Dragon Ogres. So those of you who are keen on Beastmen will know that Dragon Ogres are no longer in the Beastmen book, but we talked about it at the store and then figured it was fluffy. So with the extra 150 points that I gained from my special ability, I put in a unit of Dragon Ogres. I actually dropped one of the levels on one of my mages as well. And then I have a unit of 25 Gors with full command behind them, and in between them and the Bestigors is another Chaffstick of 5 Skirmishing Ungor Raiders. Then I have 5 Skirmishing Ungor Raiders behind the building. They're slightly out of shot. And then another 5 Warhounds. And I've forgotten about my 3 mages, so I have 2 level 1s of Beast and a level 2 of Shadow with the Herdstone and a Dispel Scroll, and they're behind the Minotaurs, right next to that hill over there. So I have a lot of chaff, which I really enjoy, and it allowed me to put down my units where I needed them and try to get the good matchups for this game. So despite having all this chaff, I actually won the roll to go first. So I moved up relatively aggressively with most of my army. I got 1 charge off, so the large unit of 35 Gors charged the Chameleon Skinks in the forest, and the rest of the lines moved up. My left flank gave a wide berth to that Carnosaur. I don't want to get near him, and unfortunately, I would have walked up further, but with the Bestigors, I wasn't really scared of them because I know I could kill the Carnosaur. But I'm still afraid that I'd lose the combat, and because I'd be in a forest, I wouldn't be steadfast. So that's why they're a little bit further back than I'd like. And this is another shot of Beastmen turn 1. So it gets you a better look at the Bestigors, or sorry, the regular Gors charging the Chameleon Skinks, and they actually lost 2 guys on the way in. So in the magic phase, I throw a couple dice at Wissen's Wild Form, and it goes through on this the Gore unit, and that was more preemptive so that they wouldn't get countercharged by the Saurus on top of the hill the following turn. And I don't really have much shooting, so we go straight to combat. And I killed 6 of his chameleons. And then I actually had forgotten that skirmishers are stubborn in the forest, and he's within his leadership 10 rerollable bubble, and he passes it. So, yeah. But that's alright, I'm not too worried about these guys. So, Lizardman turn 1. His Carnosaur charges my Bestigor. I have to take a terror test. I'm on leadership 8 without a reroll, and I fail it. And then I roll a 10, and now, if I don't rally, anything but double ones is going to take me right off the board. So that wasn't the great way to start the game. And yeah, I'm really regretting not giving them a 15-point banner just to give him the extra leadership. As for the rest of his lines, he marches his skinks on the left up to shoot at my dragon ogres. Then the skinks in the center walk up to shoot the Minotaurs, and the rest of his battle line stays reasonably intact in the center. In the magic phase, he gets Wissen's wild form off on the Carnosaur as well as Speed of Light. Oh yeah, by the way, he has a level 2 Skink Priest who is hiding behind his line, so he's in this shot. He's in the top right there. Forgot to mention him earlier. So shooting with the Dragon Ogres puts a wound on them. And my Minotaurs actually take 2 wounds as well. Actually, they took 5 wounds. Yeah, I lost a full guy and 2 more wounds on an additional Minotaur, so that was pretty bad. My opponent really rolled the 6s in this turn. But as you might expect, the Gores, beat the Chameleon Skinks in the forest and then just reform to face the Troglodyte. And we go to Beastmen turn 2. So charges. On the left, the Hounds charge the flank of the Skinks, and the Dragon Ogres go into the front. I'm hoping to overrun there and get out of line of sight of that Carnosaur, because he will do nasty, nasty things to me, striking at the same initiative but multiplying his wounds to D3. The good news is my Vestigores rally, so they won't be running off the table and I'll be able to use them later in the game. And I send a Chaff Stick in front of the Carnosaur to prevent him from charging other things. Now on the right side, I charge my Doombull, the 1-up rollable armor save Doombull, Jensen Hide, into the Skink Skirmishers, and I charge the Ninja Bull, Arntusk, into a unit of Saurus. And I feel pretty good about that. So the first Doombull, the 1-up rerollable, had to charge the Skink Skirmishers to get him out of the way. It'll take me 1 or 2 turns to go through them, and being, Lizardman, Leadership 10, rerollable, if I don't kill all of them, it's very likely that they'll hold, because that's what Cold-Blooded does. So I'm just revving up that Doombull there. And it'll be interesting to see how the Ninja Bull does. It's an ideal matchup with the facing weapon skill 3 opponents. So he'll only be hitting me on 6s and be wounding me on 5s. So I feel pretty good about that. And I park a Chaff Stick in front of his Troglodyte. So if his Troglodyte wants to do anything, it's got to charge at those guys to get it out of the way. Oh, and that's just a close-up view. So each of the bulls right now has 1 frenzy token on them. And then we go to the magic phase. So my first mage throws 3 dice at Wissen's wild form on the Gore in the woods, and he miscasts. It goes through with the irresistible force. I roll a 4 on the miscast chart, and I get sucked into the void. So that's 1 mage down on the second turn of magic. Then I take my next mage, and he throws 4 dice at Enfeebling Foe. He gets the D3, and he rolls a 6, so his Temple Guard are now reduced to Strength 1, which is wonderful. But he also miscasts, gets sucked into the void, and this time the template touches the other mage and puts a wound on him as well. So in that magic phase, I lost 2 of my mages and put a wound on the third. So ouch, ouch, bad news for the Beastmen. The good news is, or as expected, these guys just absolutely blow through the Skinks, and I overrun with both units to get out of line of sight of that Carnosaur. And in a couple of turns from now, I should be able to create some havoc on his flanks, so that's nice. This Doombull goes in, and he kills 5 Skinks. So I win actually by 6, so my opponent's on leadership 4, cold-blooded, with a reroll, and he makes it. But that's not the end of the world. If I kill these guys on his turn, I'll get to choose where I charge in on my next turn, so that's good. And the Ninja Bull goes in between his impact hits and his stomps and regular attacks. He kills 6 guys. I win combat, but of course he's steadfast. So both of my guys get an extra attack next round, so that's pretty cool. And this is why I play Minotaurs, because of the blood greed rule. I mean, these guys can absolutely keep putting out attacks, and it's going to be exciting to play with over the next couple of months. So Lizardman turn 3. I didn't take many pictures, so my opponent did not take the bait with the Carnosaur, who was just out of shot, and just reformed them to look at the Dragon Ogres, so to charge them in the rear if I couldn't get out of his line of sight in the next turn. And his magic phase was pretty much a bust. He tried to cast something with his Light Slam and failed to cast, and then he just dispelled the remains in play on the Temple Guard, so they're no longer enfeebled. And he just backs off his Troglodon. He didn't take the bait. He didn't charge into the chapstick there either. So in the combat phase, the Jensenhide, the one-up rerollable Doombull, makes short work of the rest of the Skinks and gets another token. But the Ninja Bull really fluffed his attacks. He needs 3s to hit and barely only hit twice, and then maybe missed his. Oh no, he only hit once, and he has 8 attacks. He killed one guy with his attacks and killed another guy with a stomp. And my opponent did no wounds to me, so it was a tie. But he ends up winning on Musician. So I lose my frenzy, so I lose those 2 extra attacks. But luckily I stick with the BSB right nearby. So that was a bit of a surprise. So yeah, I rely on attacks, and I guess you can fluff them every once in a while. So we go to Beastman turn 3. So you can see how his Carnosaur reformed on the center of the picture. So what I did there is walk the Dragon Ogres around the building to try to get away from him, and send 2 chapsticks in the way. So if he charges, I'll just either double flee, or I'll hold with one of the units if they don't run away from terror. So that should keep the Carnosaur busy for 1 round. And as for the Minotaurs, I charge my regular Minotaurs into his block of 24 Temple Guard, and I charge the Doombull into his block of, charge the regular Minotaurs into his Saurus Warriors, and I charge the Doombull into his Temple Guard. And I move my other 2 infantry blocks up to support. So I'm feeling pretty good about both of those matchups. And what I also do is send the big block of Gores into the Saurus block to just provide some static combat res. And the way it's set up is that they're corner to corner, so 2 of the Saurus will be able to fight the 2 of the Gores. So I'm not too worried about the Saurus beating up on the Gores and the Doombull losing combat. They're just there to make sure that I don't lose combat by static combat res again, so that I don't break or keep losing my frenzy tokens. So after combat, the Doombull comes in, and he doesn't fluff his attacks this time, and I kill what looks like another 5 guys, so I get my frenzy token back because we win combat by a lot. But again, of course, Lizardmen being Lizardmen, they were on a leadership 10 rerollable, or not rerollable, but it went down to leadership 5 or 6, and of course they make it because they're Lizardmen, so that unit sticks around. Now, wow. In the center combat, the one-up rerollable Doombull went to town. Jensenhide is a hero. Between his impact hits, his stomps, and his regular attacks, and then all the attacks that came back that he got back because of the armor saves I made, I killed 12 Temple Guard. I don't think I was expecting that. My opponent was surprised because he didn't know how these types of Doombulls worked, obviously, but I wasn't expecting it to be this good. I mean, at this rate, I should be ripping through his unit in about another 1 or 2 turns. So that was very, very good, and I'm really liking what this Doombull's doing. As for the other Minotaurs, they did pretty well as well, but they are just toughness 4 and they have light armor, so they're very vulnerable to counterattacks. Luckily, my opponent fluffed his attacks, but I did take a wound on my BSB, and I lost 1 Minotaur on the way in. But I killed what looks like another 10 guys in return. So I'm feeling good about the outcome of that combat because I'll get to strike before him next turn. and I should be able to reduce the attacks coming back significantly by then. Alright, Lizardman turn 3. The Troglodon charges into the Ungors, or sorry, the Gors supporting, so that'll be pretty bad. Oh, so I didn't actually have any pictures of the rest of turn 3. So this is the magic phase where I use my scroll to shut down his magic phase. And his Carnosaur actually didn't charge the two Chaffsticks, he just reformed again, this time looking at my core. You'll see that in a subsequent picture. So we go straight to combat. And my Doombull kind of fluffs his attacks and only kills 3 guys. But his Troglodon also fluffs his attacks and fluffs his Thunderstomps. And I think he kills 2 or 3 guys back to me, and he actually does a wound on my Doombull as well. But I still end up winning on static combat res, but he sticks around. But I get another Frenzy token, so the Doombull becomes more and more killy. In the center combat, my General doesn't do as well as last time, but does take out 6 additional guys. And so we keep fighting there because Temple Guard are pretty much unbreakable. If they're, well, they're stubborn and leadership 10 rerollable with the slan in there. But the good news is the Minotaur unit with my Gorbel goes to town and absolutely destroys these guys between all their attacks and their stomps, and they're really getting revved up now. They've got 3 frenzy tokens, which means that my BSB has 8 attacks, and my regular Minotaurs have 6 attacks apiece. So I'm really, really liking what these Minotaurs are doing there. They're just absolutely through and through a unit. So this gives you a better idea of what was happening with his Carnosaur. So we go to Beastman turn 4, and in the charge phase, I charge my Minotaurs at his source block. I catch them, and I stop where I catch them, so that unit is destroyed. I move the Black Gors in front of the Carnosaur, and I really want that combat to happen because I expect the Carnosaur to win, but when he overruns because he killed something because he's frenzied, my Bestigor should be in the flank for a countercharge on my next turn. So that's really what I'm hoping to happen there. But then in the magic phase, I cast the big amped up version of an Amber Spear and actually kill the rider off the Carnosaur, but he passes his monster reaction test. So he should still be able to charge me next turn. In the center combat, his Doombull actually, my Doombull gets challenged out, and I'm only able to kill his champion. So this is something that neither me or my opponent had thought of earlier. One of the ways to easily deal with this Doombull is to challenge him with a champion in the beginning when you have lots and lots of combat res, so that you can only overkill so much and your unit stays alive longer, and you might actually be able to beat him through static combat res because he's not going to be able to wipe out 2 of your ranks before he even gets to you. And in the other combat, the Beastmen go to town. My Doombull absolutely rips that unit to shreds, and there's only 1 guy left there at the end of the combat phase. But his Troglodon is also slowly picking away at my Gore. So I started with 35, and now I'm only left with 22. So his Thunderstomps are eating through my unit, but it's going to be, I think, not enough for my opponent. I'm going to be able to wipe out the source next turn. And I think the Troglodon is no longer not for this world. So Lizardman turn 4, the Carnosaur comes into this unit. I'm just surprised that I passed my fear test, or my terror test actually. So they held, so they didn't run away right off the board, but I don't expect these guys to do much. And then something that I did not see coming, and I thought was a great move by my opponent, was to send the Skink Priest into the flank of the Gore unit. Now, this is because the Skink Priest has got Lore Beast and he's got Transformation of Cardan. So my opponent's going for the Big Mountain Chimera, so we'll see how that goes in the magic phase. But this was actually a very, very good move. So now it's turned that combat where the Troglodon is probably going to get static combat res to death by the Gore, into something that could be very, very unfortunate for that gore unit who thought they had the upper hand. And in the magic phase, he gets the Mountain Chimera off, and I had 6 dice and he had 6 dice, but I was unable to dispel it with my dice, so that's gonna put a world of hurt on those gore. I really don't expect them to make it through. I mean, he gets 46 attacks, a breath weapon, and 2 thunderstomps. That is a lot of pain coming my way. And that's exactly what happens. They all but wipe out the unit between those 2 monsters. I've got 4 guys left. So the only good news here is that my Doombull, my Ninja Bull, was able to kill the last Saurus, which means that he's not in combat with the other 2. So he's free to do whatever he likes, and he's not really affected by these gores getting absolutely devastated. So, as you might expect, I'm on Snake Eyes, and I'm actually destroyed, and everyone just kind of reforms in a manner where they're all looking at each other so they can charge each other next turn. And that's a better. So I don't actually have a picture of the combat phase in the center, but the Doombull actually took away all but one of his guys. So now he's just fighting on Beastman. The start of Beastman turn 5, he's only fighting the Standard Bearer as well as the Slan. Now in the bottom left corner, the Beastmen, the Bestigors actually, charge the flank of the Carnosaur, and I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to get 12 attacks with potentially Primal Fury on this guy, plus a ton of static combat res, so I feel good there. And my Doombull charges his Mountain Chimera Skink Priest, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. It all depends on my magic phase and whether I'm able to dispel his Mountain Chimera. But luckily, I get some decent dice in the magic phase. I think I get roll 7 dice, and I use all 7 dice to dispel his remains in play, and that's just the end of the day for that skink. Yeah, so I just kill him on the impact hits alone. And in this in Beastman turn 5, he challenged me with his skink with his slam, and I did 2 wounds to him. I wasn't able to get any other wounds through. And then on the start of his Lizardman turn 5, he uses his potion of healing to regain those 2 wounds. So this, by the time we go to Lizardman magic phase, it still looks exactly the same. His Slan is locked into combat into a challenge with my Doombull, which I thought was a good move on my opponent's part because it prevents his Temple Guard from breaking. That means that his Slan is still stubborn. And then my opponent had a good magic phase and he played it well, so he got Faw's protection off as well as Speed of Light. So now he's weapon skill 10, -1 to hit, which means my Doombull only hits him on 5s. So we go to the combat phase and my Doombull actually loses combat. As you might notice, I don't have any of my frenzy tokens anymore. But luckily, my BSB was nearby and I'm able to hold on a leadership 7 rerollable. And we actually ran out of time. We weren't able to play turn 6 because the store was closing. So this is the last shot of the game. So the after action report. So this is the first game with Beastmen on this channel, and the Doombulls did not disappoint. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. The one Doombull wiped out a Blockosaurus, while the second Doombull absolutely ate through a Temple Guard unit, and I think would have gone through it had my opponent not cleverly prevented me from wiping him out. Second MVP goes to the Minotaurs. I mean, my entire army did almost nothing. The Minotaurs killed his 3 main blocks. I had 8 Minotaurs fight most of his army, while the rest of my army just kept whatever things distracted. I mean, yeah, the Gores were good for static combat res, and they held up the Troglodon, and the other Gores distracted the Carnosaur, and the Bestigor finished off the Carnosaur. But yeah, this list was all about the Doombulls and the Minotaurs. The rest of the army is just chaff, trying to hold things up while the Minotaurs slaughter things. So I'm very, very pleased with the way they performed. And my magic phases were wild. I really like what the Hearthstone brings to the game. I mean, I get 3 extra power dice. Unfortunately, I used them to blow myself up, but I don't think I really needed my magic phase in this game to win. Now, as for the campaign, I gain 1 tile. I'm not entirely sure of how much consequence that is, but I guess if I keep winning games, I'll gain more and more tiles, and maybe become or do better in the campaign. I guess it won't get me any additional resources or anything like that. I think it's just bragging rights. Now, what I'm going to do for this campaign is keep a running tab of how much each of the 3 characters have killed, and I'll state how much they've killed within that specific game or whether they died or not, and then I'll also add in how much they've killed over the course of the campaign. So Jensen Hyde, my 1-up rerollable Doombull, in this game he killed 10 Skink Skirmishers and did killed 25 Temple Guard. I mean, if it was 26, it would have been the whole unit, but it wasn't to be. Arntus, the Ninja Doombull, um, killed a whole block of 24 Source Warriors, and after he's finished killing those warriors, he ate a Skink Priest for dessert, so that was pretty cool. And Tomolras, my Gorbil BSB, unfortunately, his attacks were the exact same as the Minotaur unit that he was in. So, um, given a proportion of the attacks, I'm going to say that he killed about 11 of the Saurus warriors, and he also got to eat a couple of Saurus warriors on the overrun. So he's doing pretty well as well. So hope you guys enjoyed the game, and really I hope that characters keep performing the way they do, but I get the feeling some of the guys at the store are going to get wise to my one-trick pony and really discover that the only thing in my army that's any good are the Doombulls. So hopefully I'll be able to get some more entertaining games in the future. All right, bye.